Welcome to episode 73 of the Whatnauts review show, where every week we pick a story and we talk about it. Could be a movie, TV series, anime, manga, comic book, audio show, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come back here and we talk about it. I
We
am your
sure
co-captain,
do.
Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined by my other co-captain, having two makes it a co, Kyle Springer.
I am code number 2 today.
I'm the leader. I'm in charge. Kyle,
Exactly.
how are you today?
I am pretty fantastic. It's a 3-day weekend for me. I have Monday off
Yay.
since it's Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some barbecue chicken for dinner. I did
Yeah,
the
nice.
Mr. Miyagi thing of catching a fly in my hands, and I had to go wash my hands
Whoa!
afterwards because I actually got it. And I'm feeling
Wow.
good. Feeling
You're
good.
so fast.
And I have a Blue Moon mango wheat. We are not sponsored.
Ooh,
Yeah.
tropical.
Yeah, it's actually very good. Very summery.
Nice.
How about
I had a
you?
fine day. I played a Star Wars RPG with my family, and then I got some Culvers, the
So
Midwestern treat.
did did Jess tell you more about her play? The
No, I
Star
know that
Wars
she
play?
was in the band playing saxophone for a play of The Empire Strikes Back, which sounds amazing. And she showed us a picture of it's not a wampa, is it? It's one of the Hoth monsters.
Something like that.
Mm.
So apparently that play, I don't know if it was written by or produced by or something, but it's the creator of the Star Wars game that you're playing, if I'm
Oh,
not
that's
mistaken.
right. Yes.
Um, so
Yes, we're
she,
playing Edge of the Empire.
yeah, she mentioned that on the captain's log 2 weeks ago, and I was like, you should tell Melissa that, and then I forgot to follow up when we recorded it just the other day, but you reminded me. So
Yeah, well, I listened to her say it, so it's like she said it to me. She was
that
telling
works.
you when I listened to the recording later.
That works. Yeah. What are we talking about this week, Melissa?
We're talking about season one of The Terror. This is an AMC anthology horror historical drama series.
Yeah.
Each season is a self-contained story. So season one is 10 episodes, is one complete story. Season two is airing right now, and this is its own completely different historical spook tale.
Yeah. I had heard good things about this. I think I first heard about it from Jeff Ramsey, who is a
Hmm.
part of Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter. And he was mentioning it, and
Hmm.
he was like, I'm watching this show called The Terror. It's like spoopy ice stuff. And I was like, that sounds neat. And that was all I heard. And then apparently they mentioned it again because season 2 had just started. And
Hmm.
and then you pitched it on the show, and the third time is a charm. I was like, well, it's a sign I need to watch this show. So I had
I'd
heard good
heard
things
about
and
it.
was excited.
Yeah, my old Lost fan group from back 10 years ago when Lost was still airing, we're all still friends with each other. This is their new obsession. Everybody was watching The Terror. And I was seeing all of these jokes and references to The Terror, and I'm like, I'm tired of being left out. I need to know what this is.
Don't leave
And I
me.
pitched you a bunch of historical dramas,
Yeah,
and you picked the spooky one
yeah.
because here we record on the last day of August. It's just about time to start getting spooky, but
hmm
it's still hot. So you're like, the ice will cool me down. That sounds refreshing. Let's watch the Arctic one.
The Monday that is Labor Day is the first official spoop day in my mind. It's spoop day.
Happy Spook Day. Bring out your pumpkins.
Right? um yeah. Yeah, so I was more interested in this in the sense that it was a like a historical fiction but with like a supernatural twist to it.
Yeah, you don't really see
That's
that
what really
often.
hooked me. Um I think his historical fiction can be neat, especially if it starts to get really crazy. With just
Yeah.
the stuff that is going on behind the scenes and secret societies and all sorts of stuff, and I was just like, this sounds interesting. Do you want to get into a bit of a synopsis for what this
Yeah,
is?
yeah. This is based on true events. It is
Mm-hmm.
historical speculative fiction. In 1940,
18, yeah.
1845, yeah, a pair of British ships went sailing through northern Arctic Canada, way up there. There are all these different ice islands trying to find the Northwest Passage, some sort of a waterway that will connect the Atlantic to the Pacific, so then they can get to the Pacific without needing to travel like around South America, around Africa, or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Exactly.
And it's these two ships trying to find it, and every condition in the world is against them. It's unnaturally cold. They are stuck in the ice, like the water is completely frozen. They're frozen in there in the winter. Summer comes, it does not get warm enough to thaw. They're frozen in there for like 2 years or something wild. And you just watch all the crew members of these ships, these two ships traveling in tandem, just slowly disintegrate in mind and body.
Yeah.
Like it's these officers fighting with each other about the best way to survive and how to ration out food and how to take care of each other and just keep the men from going insane. And amidst all of the survivalist aspects, there is a sort of a mythic Inuit beast
Mm-hmm.
out there on the ice that is hunting them.
More so just demolishing them. But yeah.
Yes. Hunting implies that it is a challenge for this creature. It is not. It
Not
just
at
barrels
all.
straight on through. I was trying to describe the show to my dad, and he's like, well, if they're running out of rations, why don't they just kill and eat that thing? Like, Dad,
They are trying. They are throwing
it's not even
everything
an
they have
animal of
at
Earth. I don't
this.
know if they could eat it.
Yeah, yeah.
Never mind the fact that it is impossible for them to kill, pretty much.
Um, so I think it's important to note that this TV show is an anthology, so that season 2 is a
Yes.
completely different story. But season
Yes.
1 is based off of a 2007 novel by Dan Simmons of the same name, and that's where the show gets its title
Yeah.
from.
The name of the two ships are the Terror and the Erebus, which don't
Mhm.
sound foreboding at all. Sure, those
Not
ships
at
will be
all.
very lucky.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I I liked this a lot. This had a ton of elements that I really enjoyed. However, I don't think it was supernatural enough for me.
Really.
Yeah. I was kind of disappointed in that sense. Um and I mean, we'll get into it more, but on one hand, I'm wondering if maybe I could have done without the supernatural stuff and just like have it be speculative fiction, but more realistic, and just like, hey, let's just,
Yeah, where it's just like a
yeah, them just trying to survive and just
yeah, and instead of a
constantly
monster,
failing.
it's just
Yeah,
like one heck of a bear.
yeah, and it's just like it, like, because I liked the drama of this stuff. The acting is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. The writing is
Yes.
incredible. But I just, it to me it seemed like in the long run there wasn't enough supernatural stuff. But that's just me and my take. I
Yeah,
still
this
really
is
liked it though.
yeah, this is less of a supernatural story with a historical setting and more of a historical drama that has a supernatural layer on top of it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Exactly.
I really dug this.
Yeah.
I
So
watched 5 episodes in a row last week, which I don't do. I'm not a binger. That's just not my habit, but I devoured this thing. 5 episodes in a row, the next night 4 episodes in a row. I finished the show in 3 days.
that's awesome. You told me, was it yesterday or yeah, yesterday, that you got done on Tuesday.
Yes,
So
yes.
so you started it last Sunday,
Just as soon
and
as we decided on it, yeah, I'm like, okay, let's do this. I'm ready.
wow. Okay.
And
Good stuff. So I started, I think, on Wednesday, and I watched like the first 3 or 4, and then I watched the next 3 or 4 after that, and then I watched the next 2 before we recorded the captain's log, and then I watched the final one that night.
mm-hmm.
So there you go. Good
Yeah, I have
stuff.
been living with this for several more days, and I feel haunted by this show.
Let me ask you this before we get into housekeeping and spoilers. Did you go back to your friends already and have a big long discussion of like, okay, well, what did this mean and what happened here and what was that? What was going on? What was your favorite part? That was my favorite part too. Oh my god!
I did I did update them on my progress, and I told them like 15 minutes into the first episode, Good Sir is my favorite. And then immediately 4 of them were like, Good Sir is the best character. And then somebody found a picture, like a t-shirt somebody's selling on Redbubble or whatever, that is Good
Uh,
Sir with this like angelic halo around his head. And it's like, buy the Saint
protect
Good
him.
shirt, buy the Saint Good Sir shirt.
Protect him.
So yeah, yes, I'm glad. Oh, everybody is on board. Everybody's great, all these characters, but there is one very clear best boy,
Yeah.
and it is Dr. Harry Goodsir.
Exactly.
I mean, his name is Goodsir. The names in this are wild because it's so many just like generic 1800s names like Edward and Irving, and then there's characters like
But
Mr.
they're real
Goodsir and Mr.
people.
Hickey and Mr. Blanky.
But they're real people.
They are! Evidently, I guess, a real man named James Fitzjames.
Right? Um so let's get into housekeeping for a sec here, and then we will finally get into spoilers and start dissecting this series.
Mm-hmm.
So last
Nice
week
choice
here,
of words there.
right? So last week here on the review show, we did Hip Hop Family Tree Volume 1. That is a comic book by Ed Piskor. You guys should absolutely check it out if you are into hip hop in the slightest or just want to learn more about how it all got started. That was kind of the point for us. I was like, Melissa, we should teach you about hip hop. And so, of course, it was 2 white people talking about hip hop, and it was good, clean family fun. Let's see. We just recorded a new episode of the Captain's Log, which is one of our other podcasts. It was you, me, and Jess Beaver. We got to hear a little bit more about D23. We got to hear about. Let's see, what else did we talk about? Ooh, the Star Wars trailer and stuff like that for the Rise of Skywalker.
And mostly like regional foods and beverages,
Yes.
which I feel like is what happens every time we get together because we're in 3 completely different parts of the country and we need to compare notes.
Exactly. So we had a good time. Go check out that stuff. We also had, what was our we had a very weird conversation about butter and just how much of it is being used to make sculptures and butter burgers. And
Yeah, because I'm here in the
wild.
Midwest and we have butter sculptures at our state fairs and we have butter burgers at Culver's, as previously mentioned.
Yes. So go check that out as well. You guys can find those on the whatnauts.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Let's see. I think that's good for housekeeping for now.
Yeah.
Let's get on to spoilers. All right.
Okay.
Melissa, you just have
something
to be
else.
raring to go.
I am raring to go. There's so much going on in the show. I told my friends I watched 5 episodes in one night, and they're like, okay, good, yes. You're coming up on episode 6 then. That's the spicy one. They're like, oh yeah, just real spicy, hot, crispy barbecue potato chip. That episode, like what?
And
Spicy
then
like
there's a
how? Like, is
fire.
there a sex? Yeah, I'm like, is there a sex scene in something or
Yes,
there's
there's some
something in this?
like
I couldn't get it.
weird supernatural orgy
Yeah,
about to
they just
happen
keep going
here. What's going
spicy.
on?
They're like, oh no, the doctor sets the entire camp on fire. He sets himself on fire. Everybody's dying. They're trapped in a tent and they can't get out. And it's Hickey. Of course, it's Hickey that's like, I'm going to cut you out of here. It's just wait till I kill and eat all of you guys later.
Yeah.
That's the thing about the show is that it is so brutal. Like it just keeps punching you in new ways you did not know you could be punched. It's
Yeah.
ruthless. It doesn't let up. Like there's no, oh, you know that one moment? There's like 15 of those in 10 episodes.
Yeah. It was a lot gorier than I expected. That is one thing I will say about this show. Cuz like yeah, there's this giant monster, but I was kind of not expecting them to show it all that often, and so you would see
Huh.
characters like get pulled off screen or killed in some way that you couldn't see them, and
Hmm.
and then they it would show the other characters looking at them and be like, ooh, that's
Hmm.
more what I was expecting, but no, this shows
Ugh.
people getting ripped in half, their heads being torn off. That like there's all sorts of stuff. Um,
It's
it's
really
brutal.
visceral.
Yeah,
It does not pull any punches, and it's not necessarily a constant barrage of it. Like it picks and chooses its moments, and then it's like just like Hickey. He's talking real sweet to that guy's name? Billy. Just like, oh, it's okay, Billy. Like you're gonna get better. You're
mm-hmm.
gonna heal, and we're gonna get out of here. And then it's like stab. Okay,
Right.
all
Yeah,
right, butcher this man so that we can eat him.
yeah, exactly.
I
Um,
liked it. I liked how rough it was, and I, the ending is truly haunting. Like the final frame of this show is unlike anything I think I've ever seen. It's
yeah.
so desolate. It's so empty, and I kind of like that it did that.
So let's start with that then. Let's start with the end of this show because
Mm.
it starts where it ends. The show starts, I think, in 1848 or so, maybe a
I think
year or
it's
two after that.
45.
Something. Well no, because the first scene it starts at the end of it all, and it's the people talking to the Eskimo, being like, "Hey, did you see any of these people around here? Did you see the
mm,
one that was
mm.
called I forget what his
A
Eskimo name
gluka.
was. Yeah, that one. He's like, "Do you know a gluka? Who the hell is a gluka?" And he was like, "It's that one." And then we don't like we see a little bit
Oh
more after
yeah.
that, but then the show ends in that spot as well, and we see the scene from a different perspective, in which that character is literally just outside the tent, listening in, and then walks off into nothingness, basically.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
what I want to ask you, what was that final frame exactly? Because he goes walking off,
Okay.
and then
Mm.
it does the thing where it like it 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 fades into him just like sitting there, and there's like a young child next to him. I,
Mm.
what was
Okay.
that?
Okay.
Who was that? Was that Lady Silence? It didn't look like her.
It's I think it's just a kid. So Crozier has now just become part of this local community because
Right?
all of his men are dead. And theoretically he could leave. The opportunity
Yeah.
is right there. Like one of his fellow Englishmen like came up to Arctic Canada looking like, is this man here? Do you have this man? And he's standing out right outside the tent and he doesn't step inside yes, here I am. He's like, no, tell him I'm dead. Tell him we're all dead because he can't. He is just completely ruined by everything that
Right.
has happened. He can't stand going back there. He can't go back to England. He is what has happened to him has separated him into a completely different realm of living. His life cannot be the same. He can't go back. So he's just living among this community now. And the final frame is him. It looks like there's like a hole cut in the ice and he's got a spear and he's trying to like hunt for a fish underneath the layer of ice. And there's just like a kid who's just sort of hanging out next to him, just like he's become part of the community. He's like he's going to
Interesting.
help feed the kid. And the frame freezes and it like very slowly pulls out on him. It's just him, the kid, the spear, the ice, and this desolate snowy landscape. And it's so cold and desolate and melancholy and sad, and that's how it ends. Like, yep, there's no going back. Everybody's dead except for this man, and this is his life now. But the
Huh.
stillness of it calls back to that flashback when all of the commanders were in that theater. And what they're doing at this theater is that they're seeing these sort of living tableaus. Like, it's not a play, it's like all these actors and like costumes and sets, and they just sort of get into the position like they're a living painting. And there's an announcer that's like, this historical event, and then like you look at it and they're all in the poses with the costumes and you clap and it's like Sir Franklin in deepest south, and there's like a tableau of all of them exploring Antarctica because they got to the South Pole, and this whole show
Right.
is about the North. It's that he was it's the living tableau from that theater scene again, but it's like this is it. There is no adventure, there's no romance, there's no grandeur. You would never show this to a theater full of clapping socialites in London. This is how it ends.
Interesting. Well, I was very confused by that last scene because I had no idea what it was, and I'm still
Mm.
because like you mentioned he had a spear. I saw the spear, but it wasn't poised to strike. Is that like it looked like
Mm.
it was sitting across his
Well,
lap.
maybe he's just like waiting to see a fish swim by that hole or something. It is kind of
And
vague
that could
exactly what he's doing, but I think that's it.
that could very well be possible, but I didn't see a hole. The kid next to him looked like they were dead. Like it just like they weren't moving. I just didn't understand. Like you see him walking off with this community, and then there's this scene where he's just sitting there. He looks defeated. He looks, which sure
Yeah.
makes sense in that regard, but like, why not just have him continue to walk off with the thing? Like, you can just have him walk off into nothingness. Why? Like, I
I
don't know.
think
I
that
was
would
very
give us
confused.
the I like the tableau ending, and like there's it's showing that he is settled here. He's not going anywhere, but he's not happy about it. It's not like he's like,
Right? Yeah.
"Oh boy, sure I'm happy to have my new friends here in this in this native community." It's like not like they're hostile to each other. They do get along fine, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not like, "Well, I lost my ship family, now I've got this family." It's no, it's just we need each other to survive. Please help me get furs, help me feed myself, help me live. But
Yeah.
the rest of his life is just empty and cold and hollow. Like he doesn't even I would understand him not going back to England, but he doesn't even try to say like I'm just going to get to Newfoundland. I'm going to get to Nova Scotia or something. It's not like he just goes off and starts a new life. Like no, he is stuck there. He could have the ability to move, maybe years from now the temperatures would thaw, like the ice would clear, he could get in a boat, he could sail away somewhere. No, his mind is always going to be out there on the ice. So that's
Mm-hmm.
just where he's going to stay. And I like the final frame because it calls back to that tableau of there
Yeah.
was no adventure, there was no glory. This is all it came to was just horror and emptiness.
Yeah. I think part of me thinks he doesn't want them to know that he's still alive
Hmm.
out of guilt. Because
Yeah.
when they like basically tell him like, hey, you're gonna live with us now, his response is this like, even after everything I've done, like to you and your people, like
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't make sense. I've like there's been so much needless death, and he feels responsible that I'm wondering if it's this like, hey, if I actually tell them what happened and try to go back home, they're just gonna send more people and slaughter them and like do all, like more destruction will come if I
Mm-hmm.
let them know what actually happened here.
Yeah.
So he's just like, we're just gonna, nope, we're done.
Yeah, and like to tell them what happened, people back in England, I don't think could imagine anything worse than what actually happened. So let them just believe, oh, they all got frozen in somewhere. Maybe they're
Yeah.
like, there's the handful of men that were left on the ship just in case it eventually did thaw. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe he wants the rest of England to think, oh, we're all just like them. We're all just dead on the ship somewhere instead of, well, we tried to walk out and then we got divided into all these different factions and then a bunch of us died from, scurvy and lead poisoning or ate each other.
Yeah, right. Um, so you said you watched the first five episodes that first night. When were
Oh,
you actually hooked? Like it sounded like you wanted to like the show. You went in with it being like, I just need to watch this. But what was the moment that you actually got hooked on the show?
I I really love when there's that sick boy in the first episode. I don't even remember his name, but he's talking to Good Sir and he's scared of dying. And Good Sir's like, don't be scared. I've heard
Mhm.
it's like this. I heard you've seen a light.
Right.
And it's weird to think, oh, there was a time when that concept was new, and I guess it's now. Like, I've heard about this whole light thing that you see.
Where
Like,
it's
before
the
this was
like,
ingrained as part of our culture, it's like one guy's to tell another guy, like, you heard about this? There's
I mean,
light.
it's
You see loved ones, and there's music
kind
and
of the
angels.
like Christian like comfort thing. I'm just like, hey,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a bright light. Everything's gonna be happy. Your loved ones will be there. You'll be singing songs. It's all fantastic,
Mhm.
you know. Um,
Yeah, and like that's become such a routine thing in stories we might see nowadays. But like the way he says it is like this has just been a new development. Like there was somebody who like, died for a minute and then came back to life and this was written about in a scientific journal that he read. It's
mhm,
like this is just something new he has learned. And he's like, I'm going to tell you this. This is what's going to happen and it's okay and you don't have to be scared. You don't have to worry about letting any of the commanders down. Like he's so absolutely invested and sincere. And he's like, yes, I'm going to take your ring. I'm going to take it back home and give it to your sister so that she has the gold. Like, he's absolutely committed to easing all of this boy's pains and worries. I'm like,
mhm.
I love this guy. Like, everybody seemed pretty interesting,
He's
but
a
I'm like,
good
here, I've
sir.
got something to hold on to. Yes,
Right.
literal good sir.
Exactly.
I loved that.
Okay.
And then I loved when that boy is hallucinating as he's dying and he sees what looks like the figure of Lady Silence's father, I suppose. And he's wearing this mask that is this like crazy, like this twisted face,
Hmm.
which is an image that doesn't come back, but I loved seeing it that first
Yeah.
time. I'm like, okay, now the horror starts. Now here we go.
Yeah. I
This
think
is
that
what I
was
like. Like, show me the sweetest, softest thing and then terrorize me. Both, please.
yeah. So yeah, I liked that hallucination scene that happened right there a
Mm.
lot. But like you said, it didn't come back. And so that was one of the disappointments for me. I was starting to wonder, oh, I wonder if this monster is a hallucination because I haven't really seen it yet. And
Mhm.
all of that stuff. Unfortunately, I found the show to be very, very slow until like episode 8.
Really?
Again, yeah, it's still written fantastically. I liked the acting and stuff. It just, yeah, it didn't hook me until the end of the show. Um,
Hmm.
which yeah, so like I wanted more supernatural stuff is basically my point. And I think also in 10 episodes, it was also a little hard for me to get into the characters. Like stuff was happening in episode 4, 5, and 6 that
Mhm.
ends with that fire, and I didn't know who they were yet, and so I was just like,
That's
it's kind of hard to care about some of the
I
stuff that's happening. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really liked all the main characters. It is hard to keep the supporting cast separate because it is just like a bunch of brunette white guys with various stages of beard. And this show takes place over a long amount of time. It takes place over like three
Yes.
years. And so you'd be like, okay, that's the guy with the sideburns. And then the next episode, like 8 months have gone
Yeah.
by and his sideburns have grown into a full beard. And you're like, is that the same guy? Maybe I should have picked a different feature than his hair to memorize him by.
Yeah, so it
It's
like
there's a lot of them, and I am
it was
honestly still muddled about a
difficult
couple of them. This deserves a rewatch just so I can know every supporting guy's name.
for sure. But like, yeah, so I that's the thing, like, despite me wanting more supernatural stuff, and I have an imagination to be like, oh, that like that stone, that like pile of stone thing is like
Cairn.
a bunch of biblical, like, there's biblical references that are similar to that. Like, what if there's a clue there to this hidden underwater temple, and there's like like that's where my mind was going, and stuff like that. Um, but
Did you have a favorite character?
uh, I think I liked Jared Harris's character the
Crozier,
most.
yeah.
Yeah. Because I love him as an actor. I think he's fantastic, and he
Hmm.
terrifies me in a lot of his roles. He's real spoopy
He's a very
sometimes.
intense man.
He is, but it works. I think I first saw him in Fringe, and I was scared of him. Uh, but yeah, so like he's a similar kind of character where he's this very intense man who seems like he's not saying all that he knows, right? Like
Yeah.
he has some secrets to him, or stuff like that, and you kind of find out some about his past and why he's on the boat. And I think because we got those moments about him and like why he's on the ship, I was like, okay, you're probably a terrible person, but I like you because I know the most about you.
And he's sensible.
Yeah,
Like he
that's
doesn't
his whole
have any kind
mission
of
there.
pride or anything clouding his judgment. He's just like, this is the most logical thing that will protect the greatest amount of men. This will keep us all safe. And then Sir Franklin's like, no, we'll be fine. The waters will thaw. Our food will be good. We'll
Come
find
on
our
in,
way
boys. The
out.
water's
Don't worry.
fine.
Whoops, a monster took my leg and I'm dead in like episode 3.
Right. He got Darth
That was
Mauled.
something else I like. This like the pacing of the show. I think I would be expecting certain things and then it would show up way earlier than I thought. Like I didn't know the show took place over such a long span of time. It's like 3 years. Like in the first episode, they're talking about, well, what if we get frozen in for the winter? And then the next episode's like,
Well,
well,
the
we were
winter's
frozen
past.
in for the winter, and it's like months later, and I'm like, you did it already?
Yeah, which is, I mean, I guess that's what you get for only 10 episodes.
Hmm.
But that was another obstacle for me to be like, I want to spend the time with them. Like the whole terror
Hmm.
of this is they are in the middle of nowhere, stuck with no food
Yeah, it is
anywhere.
when they talk about yeah,
Like
and when they talk about walking out, it's an 800-mile walk to get to
yeah,
like a trading post.
yeah. So
Like
let me
they
be
are
there with
so
them.
far away from any kind of city. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
I
I want to spend time with them
mhm.
and to see them slowly run out of food. What are the politics with that? Whose side are they on? Are they on the chef's side that the food's fine, or are they on the side of, hey, we can't eat this, we need to go get hunting parties and stuff? Like,
Mhm.
show me more of that. And so I think I wanted them to venture out of the ships more and deal with the
Mm.
Eskimos more and explore the terrain, because it is this idea of they are in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing there, and I kind of wanted that supernatural stuff for them to be part of this hallucination. Are things that we think are happening really happening,
Mm.
or
Yeah.
like, hey, there's actually more to this environment than we thought. There's some weird stuff
Mhm.
happening here, and we just didn't get that.
Yeah, like all the supernaturalness is really focused on Tuinbach, on this
Mm-hmm.
one creature, and then the creature has this relationship to Lady Silence and her father. That's pretty much just all Tuinbach, and very early on they're like, okay, Tuinbach is real. So like everybody's
Yeah,
so certain, like the threat is known very early on. And I think
which
I
I didn't
I
like.
also would have appreciated just a general ambiance of things are weird around here. Like there's nothing else really besides Toonbach. It's not like the weather's being weird, but like the scientifically, like we look back on it, yes, there was some sort of mini ice age happening in that area at that time. Like there's nothing else that anybody is like super like weirded out by. It's just the monster. And I kind of wished it was a lot of little things kind of
Mm-hmm.
spread out everywhere. Like if
Yeah,
there was a
or like a
ghost.
mass hallucinations, or that they're all
Yeah.
seeing the same. They're all seeing the same thing, but at separate times. It's not that like there's we all
Yeah.
saw the ghost at the exact same time because there it was right there. But it's like, no,
Mhm.
this guy mentioned he saw the ghost, but he was by himself. This guy mentions the same kind of thing, but he was off on this other place. At the
Mm.
like, I want more of that. And yeah, when they show you this monster and it does become real and it can hurt this monster, then it becomes a lot less supernatural, right?
Mhm.
It still has this, is that the grandfather? We don't really know. Maybe it is. Or
Mhm.
is it
Mhm.
like one of their gods, or something? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
I'm
initial guess.
go ahead.
No, my initial guess is that the monster would have wound up to be a Wendigo, which I
Yeah.
don't know if that is culturally correct. I know that is a myth of some native peoples of North America, but I don't know if it's like USA or Canada or exactly which group of
I
people it
believe
is
it's
and where
from
they
Canada.
lived. It is from Canada.
Let's see. I'm looking it up
I
on
know I
Wikipedia.
remember the first I read the story like when I was like 8 years old. I think this is one of the scary stories to tell in the dark tales,
So
and I know it was someplace cold.
the Wendigo is a man-eating creature or evil spirit native to the northern forests of Nova Scotia and Atlantic
Okay, it is. It is kind of
coast
around there.
and the Great Lakes region of Canada. Yeah, so
Okay. I think the story takes place farther north than that, so I don't know how far the legend carries, but
it
it's
could be
close enough.
their version, yeah,
Yeah, and the
of the thing.
Wendigo is I believe in a lot of tellings, this is what happens to you after you succumb to cannibalism. Like if you eat another person, you are no longer a person. You are this monstrous creature. And the way it
See,
was
that
described in
that
the
would have been
scary stories to tell
fascinating.
in the dark, I would have loved to have seen that. I would have liked that a lot more than just like Big Bear.
Oh, that
Not that I
blows my
don't like
mind.
Toonbach. I think Toonbach looks pretty cool.
No, that
But
would
yeah,
be
and like the way it was
fantastic,
described.
because that's exactly where this show goes,
Yeah,
right? And the whole
yes.
idea of them being stuck out in the middle of nowhere is that they are slowly running out of food. And so this idea of like, we have to eat something.
Hmm.
And people are dying. What if we just have use the meat that's right there? It's them. But yeah, this idea of like, what if that's happening a lot sooner than we realize? The cannibalism
Hmm.
stuff, and the Wendigo is only killing the people that have eaten that meat,
Hmm.
or stuff like that, and they don't put the connection together, and we don't realize that's the reason behind it until the end of the show. That I think would have been fantastic. But yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
big old bear with a weird face.
Which is a neat design. I like how he looks like a bear and also kind of like a man. Like it
Mhm.
is designed well. The way I remember the Wendigo tale going is that what happens to you should you become a Wendigo is that your features just kind of like stretch and distort and become elongated. And
Mm-hmm.
that is like that mask that
Yeah.
that uh
Yeah.
that man has when the dying boy sees him in the first episode. It's like the mouth has just been like distorted and pulled. So I thought that's where it was going. I was like, the second the show comes on, I'm like, okay, when does somebody eat somebody? I know this is happening. And I talked about how a lot of things happened earlier than I thought they would, but the cannibalism, I was like, from episode one, I'm like, okay, when does this come into play? No, this one is coming. And like, it actually took slightly longer than I would have thought.
Right. Uh so yeah, apparently it is also in Innu lore, which I'm assuming
Mm-hmm.
that's present day Quebec, it looks like.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the same thing as Inuit. I don't know
I
the
don't
correct
know.
terms to any of this stuff. But yeah, so um speaking of the monster, let's talk about the monster a little bit more. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
One of the scenes that happens, and then they mention it once, but besides that, we don't really see anything else.
Oh,
Again,
yeah.
is when he eats the one person, and like the guy's soul like leaves his body, and the monster like inhales it, or
Yeah.
I guess we don't necessarily see him inhale it or consume the soul, but the person standing like 15 feet away says he saw it, and that's what
Yeah, isn't
happened.
it Hickey?
I don't remember,
Or it's
or
like
it's
somebody
one
in
of
Hickey's
his
camp.
men. Yeah.
Yeah.
um but yeah, so what did you think of that scene there, that this monster is more so there to consume souls rather than like kill and eat meat?
I wanted more of that. Like they talk about how Toonbach has like a man-like intelligence. Like he is not operating the way even the smartest animal would try and hunt you.
Right.
Like there's something to him. And I really like that this kind of tried to build up just more of what he does, even if we don't figure it out, just we can learn more of whatever his skill set is, how he operates. Is it the souls he's really after?
Yeah.
And yeah, it doesn't they don't really learn much about it. But I think that does kind of play into what you're looking for. Like, I think there's one person that sees the soul get eaten, and the other people he's talking to are like, okay, eat souls? All right, guess it could
Interesting. Yeah.
happen.
They're like, well, with the shit we've seen, anything is
Mm.
possible. How about the charms that the
Oh,
father had? Because
yeah.
that was an interesting thing, and I was,
Mm-hmm.
because again, with my imagination of like, how is this supposed to be supernatural? What is happening here? There's this idea of when they killed him, they found all of these charms that were like sewn into the
Mm-hmm.
hood of his coat, and they steal him, and I don't remember what they do with, I think they bury him with them or something, but Lady Silence wants them back. And so I was wondering if there was some kind of connection there, like it was somehow that his body still had possession of those things and he shouldn't, or maybe they needed to switch it to a different one, or one of them was secretly
Yeah, like
removed
she needs them.
or something. Yeah,
Like
just
she
like
needs them to like sort of take over his role as like,
the protector,
Toonbox
the shaman, I
watcher. Yeah.
believe is what they called him. Um,
Yeah, I think they said that.
yeah, like there's so many little things in this show that it didn't explore, but it mentioned or it showed, like Mr. Hickey being a gay character in this, but also then ends up being the bad guy, which is also
It's
like a bad trope of like, oh, the gay guy is the villain.
and like we don't learn anything more about that if
Right.
that is his real well if that's his real orientation or if it's like, well, this is
When in
the
Rome,
option I
do as the
have.
Romans do. Right.
I'm in a ship stuck in the Arctic. There's only other men. Like, this isn't specified at all.
Any port in an ice storm.
Yeah, yeah. It could have just very well been that.
Because there was
I
a
would have liked to have had that explored a little bit.
there seemed to be a little bit of, I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong here. Did you pick up on any kind of subplot, or not subplot, but just undertones between Crozier and what was the guy underneath him?
James?
Yeah, Fitz
Oh,
James.
people are about this.
I was gonna say there was some tension there. There was
Yeah.
some like they knew each other real well. They sure are good
Mm-hmm.
buddies, good old pals.
Yeah, and then there's the I forget their names, but it's like the older man and like the slightly younger man, and they like lend each other books.
Yeah,
Those two had something like very sweet. Like there's a couple relationships that get like they vaguely could kind of be romantic if a lot more time was spent with them. There was actually less of that than I was expecting.
hmm,
Like the
interesting.
most, like we've got Hickey and Billy sleeping together, but they are not a couple.
Right. I
Like
mean,
he
they're not
gives
getting
them
much
that
sleeping
ring
done, if you know what I
that he
mean.
stole from the dead body.
Right? Yeah.
But like that's as far as it goes. I was expecting more like overt romance actually. I don't know if there's anybody actually kisses each other in the entire show because everything they do is off screen.
I
And
don't
I'm like,
think
when was the
so.
last time I watched a show? Me, like
Wait,
such a romance nerd, saw
don't
a show
they?
where nobody kisses each other.
Don't they? Isn't there one scene where they do? I don't remember. Um,
Oh, yeah, I don't remember specifically, but like I was expecting more romance on the ship to be dealt with.
or
And I didn't
for me.
necessarily miss it because there's so much going on.
Mhm,
But I was, just surprised,
yeah.
quietly surprised, but then easily distracted by something else the next minute. Like, oh, yes, who's going to bicker? What kind of professional rivalries do we have to watch?
Right? Like I wanted things to just break down in all sorts of ways, all sorts of different politics, all sorts of different
Yeah.
relationships going bad or new ones starting up. Like the whole idea after Mr. Hickey and Billy get caught and they kind of
Hmm.
have their falling out. There's a scene where it looks like he's taking a shit on his bed, on Billy's
Yes,
bed
he
to like get
shits on
after.
his bed, and then later he's like, I stole this ring off a dead body for you. And later he's comforting him, and then he stabs him, and he's like, time to eat you.
Right, like
Like,
there's just no mention
Hickey was a
of
delight to watch.
it. Like there is, like he shits on the guy's bed, and then there's just no mention of it. It never comes up again. I that's not that's not.
I
Don't
was
do
expecting
that.
a little bit more fallout from something like that.
But like, how does stuff like that, whether it's completely petty, right? Like
Yeah.
that type of stuff, how does that affect the morale of the men there, right? How does that
Hmm.
affect the politics behind the rations. Well, if you're gonna be like this, and I'm gonna side with this guy, and he's on the side that says we should go hunting food, and so yeah, fuck you and your tin cans, right? Like, I want more of that stuff, of the people that think they should break the ship down to build better housing or to do something else, or like what do you do? Do you send a party out to look for Lady Silence and their tribe and try to convince them to be like, hey, we need your help? And yeah, do we send a party after them? There's so much potential, I think, in that story that I'm wondering. Like, I'm now wondering how much more is in the book. Like I hate to be reductive and be like, well, I'm sure the book is better than the movie or the TV series, but like,
it's just a matter of like pacing and just what you can fit in a book versus what you can fit in a TV show, and just like what happens in internal monologue in a book versus what happens in dialogue and action in a TV series. Like, they just cover different things.
This could have easily been 2 or 3 seasons. Easily.
Yeah.
Of them
yeah,
going out there. Like, imagine the fire being the season finale of one. Like, now what do we do? Our fucking ships are gone. Like,
yeah,
now
we
we're just
lost
stuck here.
so many men. All of the supplies we used to build these tents over here.
Yeah.
Just think about how much stuff they lost. Like, oh no, now we don't have blankets.
Yeah, and then season two is like Rise of the Cannibals and something else, and then season 3 is Attack of the Wendigo, right? Like, I just
yeah,
something like that to give the story more time, I think, is what it really needed. But I feel like I'm starting to sound like a broken record on that. I'm just like, I wanted more supernatural stuff. It had weird pacing. Fuck you and your tin cans and blah blah blah.
Lead cans.
Right.
I want to say that I liked, I think, the first 6 episodes the most. I liked when they were on the ships more than when they were just out walking and camping among the vast barren wasteland of northern Canada.
You know what would be really neat? How cool would this be if they filmed it similarly to Birdman, where it's just this real over the shoulder, real close behind, like,
just while they're in the ships,
claustrophobic.
Oh, that sounds great.
It doesn't necessarily need to follow one character the entire time, but just that sense of just things are happening nonstop. It's all just one go, right? Huh.
Yeah, I think they did it well, though. I love the ships as a setting. I loved how they're so enclosed. The ceilings are low.
Yeah.
There's just all these little rooms and
Creaking.
cubbies, and everyone's crammed together. Yeah, like all the creaking noises, and then when the ice starts to like force the terror at an angle, then you've just got like canted angles for everything that's happening. The whole thing feels just tense and cramped and unsettling, and I love it.
Angle that just makes everything feel off, like something is wrong.
Yeah, and then I liked the tension, the dread of, are we going to have to walk out of here? I thought that was more effective than watching them when they actually did have to walk out of there.
Right.
I think it just affected me differently. Like, the latter half of the series is so barren and desolate. You feel that more than you feel like tension. Like, you're not on the edge of your seat. You're just like, oh, this is so sad. Like, I think the earlier episodes are a little bit more thrilling because it's got that, I don't know, just that claustrophobic energy to it. The latter half of the season doesn't feel claustrophobic because they're out there in this vast wasteland. And like, it's not better or worse. They're both very different feelings. I just responded better to the atmosphere when they were on the ships.
Yeah. I think I'm the opposite. Though I do really
Mm.
like the ships as a setting. Um, I I liked the end of the show better. Uh, because like you knew that they were all going to die, right?
Mhm.
Like if this is based off of real events where we know that they all died, we just don't know how, and that's what they're speculating on, right? Um, there is this tension of how everything is starting to break down, and that is the part of the show where I was like, this is more of what I want. Here's Mr. Hickey causing dissension and stirring up trouble and
Mhm.
doing all of that stuff, and he's playing politics and stuff like that. And then there's this whole cannibalism thing, and then there's this like, hey, if I poison myself and kill myself, they're gonna eat me, which means I can make them sick. And it's just like,
Yes.
that's fascinating, that's horrifying, that's what I want. Like that was
Mhm.
the thing. So I like that, and the scene of the one guy with the peg leg who was like,
Yes.
just let me lead the monster off, tie
I'm dying anyway.
forks
Yeah.
all over. His end scene where he just looks back at the thing and starts to laugh is creepy. I was like, that's unsettling. Like
Oh, I loved it. Like I love his goodbye with Crozier because they are old friends, him and Mr. Blanky.
right.
And like there's this moment of like kind of like happiness between the two of them, like this dark gallows humor where they're just holding each other and laughing. That is, oh, like it's grim as it is the brightest moment
Mm-hmm.
like since episode 6 when they were having that doomed carnival and all
Right.
wearing
Yeah.
silly hats.
Yeah.
And then he's happy when he dies because he's like, oh, he can see like the water starting to thaw out in the distance. And he's like, there it is. There's the passage. It was real the whole time. We weren't on a wild goose chase. There's something here. We just could never get there.
Melissa, they could have done a murder mystery with everyone in masks. Someone gets murdered and we don't know who it is, and then it's the like, someone on this boat is a murderer, and I
That'd be
don't know
nice.
who it is, but it's good. We're gonna find out, right? Like they could have done something like that too. I digress. What did you think of the
It could have.
like flashback sequences of the like families, like, hey, they've been gone for 2 years and we haven't heard from them, maybe we should do something.
I liked them. I really liked Lady Jane, who was Sir Franklin's wife, who was like, I went out into the snowstorm. I took my shoes off. I stood out there for as long as I could stand it. And that was 2 hours. And they've been in temperatures far worse for years.
Yeah.
I loved how just absolutely committed and just, well, you know, the Navy isn't listening to me. Time for me to call up my friend Charles Dickens and
Right.
get him to help me like raise some funds. I'm going to pay for my own ships. I'm going to send him out there to find my husband. I dug that a lot.
Yeah, I liked that it was not just them like wanting to raise money for the ships, but for them to be
Mm,
on the ships when they
mhm.
go. That was the thing of like, no, we will be on those ships. Like, we are going to find our husbands. um,
Mhm.
but yeah, like that again, like it's another part of the show that I like a lot, but they just didn't explore it like I wanted them to. Like
I wanted a flashback to the Antarctic expedition that
that would
a
have been
bunch of
nice.
them were on.
Yeah,
And like we hear about it. Like we hear that they have to walk out of that, but they didn't do it early enough. And this is what Crozier is pushing. Like, Franklin, we need, like, it's going to be a long, hard walk. We have to start as soon as we need to.
yeah,
And I think we need to because he says, when we reached the beach, we had 1 day's rations left. And thank goodness we found this old ship there that had rations inside it. But if it wouldn't have been for that, we would have all died. Let's not die this time. And Franklin's like, I think you're worrying. I
yep.
think we're okay. Ice will melt. We'll sail right out of here. It's cool. Drink your whiskey.
We also didn't get enough underwater stuff. That was terrifying.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you this though. What was your I guess favorite scene, but like what was your favorite, like I guess supernatural scene, or like your favorite spook moment, or like what was there something that
Like
scared
my
you the
favorite
most?
twist that
Yeah.
scared me the most. I had a lot of literal jaw drops watching the show. Like I think when, like, especially, I think the biggest ones are when Dr. Stanley walks out and just sets himself on fire. And when
Right?
you find out Mr. Hickey is not Mr. Hickey, he's some guy that just stole the real Cornelius Hickey's identity.
Yeah.
And there aren't like photo IDs in 1845, so nobody catches him on. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you don't remember my face because I grew a beard." And the other guy's like,
That
"Okay, that
makes
must be
sense.
it.
Yeah.
Come aboard."
Right. It's like, well, I see my signature
Those are the
there.
biggest, like, the scariest thing for me. Oh, I forget which episode this is. It's like maybe like 4, 5, 6. It's in like the latter chunk of when they are still on the boats.
Hmm.
When it's so foggy outside and Toonbach is coming and like chasing, I think it's Blanky, like up the mast of the ship, and it's
Hmm.
just super foggy and hazy, and you
Yeah.
can barely see like 6 feet in front of you. That was really good.
That's horrifying. Yeah, they did fog really
Hmm.
nicely. Like that scene was fantastic. And then when Toonbach is running around the camp, when the men have been like, "Well, we took the guns for ourselves and this and that," and like
Oh yeah.
everything is happening all at once, and it's just people are running this way and
Yes,
that way,
yes.
and Toonbach is there, and the guy's soul is getting eaten, and what in the world? Like
Yee.
that, like that stuff was fantastic. I think one of my favorite moments, which again is something we didn't get enough of, when
Mhm.
the guy that's been sick wakes up and sees everyone leaving and starts army crawling out of the
Yeah.
tent because that's all he can do. And he's like, "Wait, don't leave me," all of that stuff. But then he starts hallucinating this like Alice in Wonderland style feast with what was his name?
Crozier.
Yeah, um, him at the head of the table, and he's crawling on the table instead, knocking off all of this food. Like that was the most
Yeah. Yeah.
surreal moment. Like it's not
Yes.
even
I would have liked a
scary.
little bit more like that. Yeah.
Right. Give me more of that stuff. Like like it's not a scary moment, but it seems like
Hmm.
something out of a Salvador Dali painting, right? Where it's just this very very barren landscape.
Yes.
There's this weird table with food on top of it and some dead
Hmm.
guy crawling on top of it. There's a some guy smoking a pipe at the end of it. It's very strange, and it's like I
Yeah.
I don't know why that happened or what that's supposed to signify or if it's a metaphor for something. But yeah, it was just like I really liked that scene. I was like, ooh, give me more of that.
Yeah. Yes, there's so much going on in this show. Like I can't keep all the supporting characters straight, and like I don't remember like, oh, did this happen? When was this? Somebody said this, who said it? Like cuz there's so much going on and I watched the whole thing so fast.
Yeah,
This is a show I think I really will come back to and find all new layers and like all new symbolism and things I never picked up on before. And I'm really excited about that. I think the show has
yeah.
real rewatch value.
You might have to go read the book to see if that can help
I
inform,
kind of do want to read the book, yeah.
right? See if that can
Mm-hmm.
inform your next watch of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about? Any specific moments or scenes or stuff that we haven't touched on yet?
Wow. I finished this on Tuesday and I have felt like haunted by the thing
Sure.
the whole week because it is so brutal. I'll just be going about my day and I'm like, remember when Hickey gave him the ring he stole off the dead man and then he killed him and then he ate him and then Good Sir
Right?
covered himself in poison and drank poison and killed himself as the sacrifice? Like, they will eat me, they will die. This is what needs to happen. And oh, it's such a barrage of gut punches that I feel like, and it's only been a matter of days. I will have to report back at our end of the year retrospective and
Right.
see how I'm thinking about the show then. But this feels
Was he
like
still
something that will
haunted?
like stick to me. Like
Mm-hmm.
8 years from now, I'll still be staring out at the horizon thinking about Harry Good Sir.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I would agree and say that it is a very haunting
Mm-hmm.
show. Yeah, just it sticks with you because it's all horrifying stuff. It's just, yeah, it just, ugh. I don't know, man.
I'm going to share something one of my friends said when describing the show. Because we were talking about the tone of it
Mm-hmm.
and how, like, it's a rough show, but when you know that's what it's supposed to be going into it, when you know this is a horror show, it is based on these true series events where the ships were lost and nobody came out alive. Like, when you know that going into it, then you're just sort of excited to see everything happen.
Yeah.
And they were saying, really, if you just think about it, it's kind of like a slasher movie, but the murderer is the Arctic.
Kind
Like,
of.
that's true. Like, you're
Yeah.
just watching a series of survival disasters, all kinds of disasters. We didn't bring enough food. The food we brought is spoiling. Anything that isn't spoiled is in a lead can.
Right. And even that
Like,
is
just, oh,
slowly getting spoiled.
everything is against us. Everything is against us. And, like, I like that. It's not so early on you can see that Hickey is kind of an antagonist. And there's lots of like bickering
He's a
and like
troublemaker.
enemies going on throughout the ship. Like Crozier spends all his time fighting with Franklin and Fitzjames, but there is no human villain, I think, until Hickey's like, I'm taking these men and we're going to break away from things.
Yeah.
Like, I like that the first chunk of the series is just survival problems.
Right. Yeah.
That was neat.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
Like, it's
stuff.
not like we don't need a villain on top of this. Like, circumstances will murder us all. Hubris and bad luck are just all it takes to knock us down.
Exactly. So I do. Let me read one more thing off of the Wendigo Wikipedia page because that
Okay.
kind of goes off of what you're saying. It says the creature lends its name to the controversial modern medical term Wendigo psychosis, described by psychiatrists as a culture-bound syndrome with symptoms such as intense craving for human flesh and fear of becoming a cannibal. In some indigenous communities, environmental destruction and insatiable greed are also seen as a manifestation of Wendigo psychosis. Um, so yeah, like I think that adds to not only what you were just saying, that he, like, there wasn't really this human antagonist. It is this environmental stuff, right? It is this
Yeah.
metaphor of everything around them, that these white men are only after something that will help them to profit, right? They are being greedy. They are destroying the environment, and that is why this monster is haunting them, right? They're out
Yeah.
here, they are running out of food, and they're all slowly thinking it. Who are we going to eat first? Right? And here is this
Mm-hmm.
monster being like, I'm going to be the one to eat you all first.
Yeah, and that's a question the show never really broaches. It's definitely like we should not have done this under these circumstances. We should have paid for better cans to put our food in. We should have been better
We
prepared.
can do better.
But it never talks about, are we right to go up here at all, and like what the effects of that are.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if any of the natives are necessarily bothered that they're there. There's like, oh, hi.
Yeah.
They kind of work it out like my name's this, your name's that. Here's a spyglass. Here's
They've
some elk meat.
they've obviously ran into other people enough that a few of them know their language, right? They can speak
Yes.
the
Yeah, like
whatever the
Crozier's been up there
language is.
before enough that like he's pretty fluent in the language. Like he's got his own kind of local name up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very curious. Like, is like the culture seems okay that they're there. Like they get what the mission is. Like we're just here to sail through. We're just gonna see if we can sail from one side to the other side. But there is something like when they get up there, something does break. Like Toonbach is after them for something, and I don't know. Like it's all kind of vague, and it's kind of interesting that it's kind of vague because ultimately, what does it matter why anything is happening? It's happening. It cannot be stopped. Like death is imminent. It doesn't care how much you know about why anything is happening. It is. You can investigate every option. Ain't none of them gonna save you.
Yeah.
You're gonna die out here. You may or may not get eaten.
You know what would have solved this entire thing and how they could have lived? Just
How?
bring Sawyer from Lost. He'll kill the polar bear. That's what he did in episode 1.
It's not a polar bear. Toonbach is an entire other creature. So now you're on the same side as my dad. Why don't they just kill and eat the monster? Like it's that easy. Like the monster's even something you can eat. Maybe the monster's also made out of lead.
Right. No, so one last thing about Toonbach. The whole idea of Good Sir poisoning himself and then killing himself so the men eat him, and so then Toonbach eats all of the men and then gets sick from eating them. That was a little bit of a stretch for me, that the poison would go that far to like not to like make the men sick and then make Toonbach sick, because
I
he
don't
ate.
think it was necessarily the poison.
That's what I assumed it was, because he had no trouble eating multiple people
Wasn't it like
all at once
was it
until that time when they all had the
like
poison in them.
he
And he was
gobbles
just
up a lot of hickey and then doesn't like isn't somebody choking him or something? Like I
well,
don't think it's poison. I think he like chokes and that's how he dies.
it's yeah. He eats the other guy that's chained up, or he eats
Mm.
multiple people that are chained up. So the chain is like inside him, like stuck inside him, and that's why
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Crozier is pulling on the chain so he
Yes.
won't get
Okay, that's how it went out.
eaten. But yeah, I didn't. It didn't seem like he was choking, because it was still slowly going down, and he was still like he still ate the arm off of Mr. Hickey, and then like ate his bottom half and all of that stuff. Like he was still consuming more food, but it like eventually he was just like, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good, and then he was like, bleh. And then he just like barfed it all up. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe the Wendigo or the Toonbach thing does throw up, and we just haven't seen it all yet. Like he eats the entire body to consume the soul, but he doesn't need the meat. He just needs the soul. Who knows?
I don't know.
I'm speculating way too much.
I feel like we could talk forever about this show. So let's call it a night out here on the Arctic, where it's night for like a month in a row, and then wait till summer and it'll be day for like a month in a row. That's how it happens up here.
Exactly.
Let's call it a night. Let's talk about, do you have any recommendations? Did this remind you of anything? And would you say if you liked The Terror, try this also?
There was, oh goodness gracious, now that I'm thinking about what I can recommend, there is, let me see if I can find this. Do you have recommendations in the meantime while I look this up?
I do. I have a couple odd ones. There is a trailer for a movie that is not out yet
Okay.
that I really like. There's a
Interesting.
movie called The Lighthouse. This comes out mid-October. This stars Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson and only them. They are two lighthouse keepers in like early 20th century. Like it's I'm not getting an exact fix on the time, but it's
Mm-hmm.
olden times. And it's just the two of them alone in this lighthouse, seemingly just like going mad and like getting absolutely stir crazy cooped up there with each other. And the whole thing just seems like spooky and horrific, but I don't know exactly what. Like, is one of them going to
Huh.
try and kill the other? Is like,
Interesting.
the environment trying to kill them? I don't know. But the movie is all in black and white,
Ooh,
all in like 4 aspect ratio. Like it's all
I like
square
that.
and it's filmed to look really old. This looks like a movie from like the 20s or 30s or something. I've
That
watched
sounds
the
awesome.
trailer so many times. Every time I have somebody over, I'm like, let me show you this trailer. Like it's got that same really tense, unsettling feeling to it. I'm really excited about this movie. I looked it up on IMDb, and the only actors are the two of them and a woman playing mermaid. So we'll see how that
Hmm.
goes.
Woman playing
I'm
mermaid.
also going to call mermaid. Yeah. I'm also going to call upon my English major skills and recommend a poem,
Okay.
which I don't think has ever been done here before. My very favorite poet I studied in college is Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and he wrote a poem called The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which unfortunately I didn't have time to reread it before this recording, and I haven't read it since I was in college, but I loved it. And it's about this voyage, this old ship going somewhere, don't remember where.
Mm-hmm.
And the narrator of the poem accidentally kills an albatross. And the rest of the crew is like, what are you doing? An albatross is supposed to be a good luck bird. That's supposed to be a good omen. You've ruined us. You've cursed the entire thing. And that's like a metaphor. If you still hear that today, like, oh, that's a real albatross for this mission. That's,
Mm-hmm.
I think, what this comes back to.
Okay.
And this does kind of curse the voyage. And like there's no wind, they can't sail, they're stuck out on the ocean, they go through all of their rations, they go through all of their water, and they're just all slowly dying of hunger and thirst and getting baked by the sun out there on the ship. And then eventually the narrator like spots land or some sort of sign of life or something on the horizon, and he tries to call out to his crewmates, say that it's there, but his voice is gone. Like they've had no water in so long, his throat is so dry he cannot speak to call out land ho. So he bites into his own wrist so
Drinks
that the
his blood.
blood can wet his mouth enough that he can yell out to his crewmates. And that image has stuck with me for years. And that's
Wow.
like exactly the same level that the terror operates on.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'll
go
say.
look up this poem. It's easy to find because I think it's just in the public domain.
Oh, nice.
Just Google it and you'll find it.
Good stuff. So I wanted to recommend an anime called The Lost
Yes.
Village. Uh,
Oh.
actually, I covered this on a podcast long ago on an episode of the Whatnauts podcast, which is an older version of this here show that we are
Mm-hmm.
doing right now. Um, and it is about a group of about 30 or so people that get on this tour bus to go see this village that is like this urban legend that it is this
Ooh.
utopia, and many people seek to like start a new life here at this village and all of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff, or to escape their troubles. And when they get there, they find that the village has no inhabitants, with very little signs of life at all, and everything is slowly deteriorating. And
Mm.
over time, while they're there, they discover like what is actually happening and all of this stuff. And it's this supernatural tale. Is there a monster thing that's out there that ate all of these people? Why is there no
Yeah.
one here? It's spooky stuff. Spoopy. So that is The Lost Village. It is an anime. Apparently, it's also a manga and a novel.
Mm. Oh.
It's a television series produced by blah, 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 blah. Yeah, cool. There you go. That's what I would recommend for that. I have 3 pitches for next week, though.
Pitch time.
Pitch time, and I have a theme. I'm not going to say what it
Uh-huh.
is at the start because I feel like it should be pretty easy to understand, especially if you are listening to this episode as it happens. I'm sure Melissa will understand it immediately. Pitch number 1 is volumes 1 and 2 of She-Hulk.
Ah, yes.
This is written by Dan Slott, and it came out in around 2004 to 2005. I believe it's 12 issues total, and that is the entirety of the run. So let me see if I can find a little synopsis thing here. She-Hulk, come to me. Where can I find you? So volume 1, which is entitled Single Green Female, says single green female, outgoing, intelligent, great sense of humor, enjoys clubbing, dishing with gal pals, and saving the universe. Ready to put old issues behind and make a fresh start. Contact Jen W. at Avengers Mansion. That's right, everyone's favorite jade giantess, She-Hulk, has returned for tons of fun, both on and off the field of battle. I hear in issue 4 of this, she represents Spider-Man in a lawsuit against him and J. Jonah Jameson for slander or libel. I'm not sure
This
which
is what I like
one.
about She-Hulk. I like that among all of this, she is a working lawyer.
Yes, she is a working lawyer. And so yeah, I don't know the entirety of stuff that happens in this run, but I have heard good things about Dan Slott's run on She-Hulk, and that is pitch number 1. Pitch number 2 is Miss Marvel volumes 1 and 2. This is all about Kamala Khan, written by G. Willow Wilson. And let's see if I can get a little bit of a synopsis for these ones. So volume 1, which is entitled No Normal, Marvel Comics presents the all-new Miss Marvel, the groundbreaking heroine that has become an international sensation. Kamala Khan is an ordinary girl from Jersey City until she is suddenly empowered with extraordinary gifts. But who truly is the all-new Miss Marvel? Teenager? Muslim? Inhuman? Find out as she takes the Marvel universe by storm. As Kamala discovers the dangers of her newfound powers, she unlocks a secret behind them as well. Is Kamala ready to wield these immense new gifts, or will the weight of the legacy before her be too much to handle? Kamala has no idea either, but she's coming for you, New York. There you go. Miss Marvel. Volumes 1 and 2. This was published around 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can already guess what pitch number 3 will be, if you know what I am talking about. Pitch number 3 is volumes 1 through 3 of Moon Knight.
Oh.
These are written by Jeff Lemire. There's 14 issues in total.
We've read something by Jeff Lemire, haven't we? What was it?
It was not. It was Essex County, I believe, is what we
read. The guy who really.
Let me see if I can find where we did that.
That was like our first one of the first couple episodes of the year. Yeah, Essex County.
Also, Plutona. He did Plutona
Oh. Oh,
as
oh.
well. Which I don't remember. Let's see. I guess that's what. See, episode number. Where did Plutona go? Episode 32 of the review show is on Plutona, and then Essex County was episode 40. Those are both by Jeff Lemire. So this is Moon Knight, by Jeff Lemire, and I wanted to pitch the first 3 volumes because there's only 14 issues total in his run, and it says Mark Spector, aka Moon Knight, aka Jake Lockley, aka Stephen Garant, has been fighting criminals and keeping New York City safe for years. Or has he? When Mark wakes up in an insane asylum with no powers and a lifetime's worth of medical records, all of his identities are called into question. He's surrounded by faces. Let's see. He is surrounded by faces. Haughty doctor,
Aren't
hostile, right? Haughty doctor, hostile orderlies, vacant-eyed patients. But maybe those faces are just masks. Some might hide friends, others might hide enemies, or even worse, gods and monsters. Mark's got to get out. The moon is high, the mask is on, but if he succeeds in escaping, will he find only a city of sand? And what will it mean when Mark Spector comes face to face with Moon Knight? Everything you know may be wrong, and you'd be insane not to find out for sure. There you go.
Okay.
So, Melissa, what is my theme?
Oof. These are all the new Disney Plus shows.
Yes.
Developing out of brand new MCU characters. Like they've got other shows featuring familiar faces. You know, our buddies Wanda and Vision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki and all of them. But these are characters who have never been in the series before. We will get to know them here on the new platform.
Exactly.
I'm excited to meet all of them. I've never read anything from any of these people. I think I want to go with She-Hulk because that one sounds like the most fun.
Sure.
That sounds like a romp. Just like I could use with a single powerful career woman role model.
Right.
I don't want to have to worry about a teen or a sick man.
Okay. So let's see. She-Hulk Volumes 1 and 2 by Dan Slott are both available on Comixology Unlimited.
Nice.
So if you guys have access to that, you guys should absolutely read along with us. And I believe it is 12. Oh, wait. Wait, is it not on Comixology Unlimited? I thought it was. It was just on here. I just looked at this thing, and it's not on Comixology Unlimited. I take that back. It is not on Comixology Unlimited, but that's okay. We can still find it elsewhere. It is available to buy on Comixology if you guys want to go that route as well. But yeah.
I'll stick with it. I'll stick with She-Hulk.
Sure, good.
I'm excited for Law Adventures.
Right. Law and Order, maybe? Who knows?
Yeah,
we'll
see. Maybe we'll get both. Yeah, I'm the nerd who watched the Daredevil series and was like, more law, please. So now here it is.
Good stuff. So we'll be back.
It's reading a nice courtroom story.
Exactly. We'll be back next week with She-Hulk Volumes 1 and 2 by Dan Slott for episode 74. This has been episode 73. Melissa, where can the people find you? on the
You
internet?
can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
And I am at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. We are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. If you guys want to follow us and stay up to date with our shows, go like, share, subscribe. We could absolutely use your help on YouTube. Go subscribe to our channel there if you.
Watch us.
Yeah, you guys can
Watch our faces.
watch us and do all that stuff instead. But yeah, we could absolutely use your help, even if that is not the normal way you listen to the show, as well as on Twitch, twitch.tv/the Whatnauts. If you guys could subscribe to us on that, or I guess follow us. You can't subscribe to us yet, but if you guys can follow us on Twitch, that would help us out a ton. Let's go like, share, subscribe, sell your soul. We will be back next week for She-Hulk. See you then. Adios.
Bye.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much for watching that episode of the Whatnauts review show. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments below what terrified you the most about season 1 of The Terror. We would love to know. But in the meantime, go subscribe to our channel, which is right up there. Go watch one of our other videos right down there. That would help us out a ton. We got a lot more podcasts. We got something for everyone, I believe. So you guys should go check it out. And we will see you next time. Stay alive and don't freeze to death. That'd be bad.